So for us here at Emporia State University, information literacy assessment is really key to be integrated across the curriculum. We have a general education core skills requirement for our undergraduate students that is called information literacy and technology. And there are several courses that students can take to fulfill that specific requirement. One of our courses that they can take is a course that we teach through the library called UL 100, Research Skills, Information, and Technology. So in order to prove the value of this general education requirement, and just to show that students are indeed graduating as information literate students, some type of information literacy assessment across the board is absolutely key for us here at ESU to continue to provide that value and to show that this is indeed a key essential requirement for our students graduating from Emporia State. When we were getting ready to look at standardized information literacy assessments, we knew that we wanted to find one that would cover a lot of requirements for us for UL 100, which is where we do use a standardized assessment. It had to be, I wouldn't necessarily say easy to use, but it had to be something that would be readily accessible to our students. It also had to be something that students could do both face-to-face and online, because we teach several online sections of UL 100 as well. And finally, we wanted a test that would cover certain key components of the ACRL information literacy framework, because we are teaching our UL 100 course and we align our learning outcomes to the framework. And so we wanted some type of standardized assessment that would demonstrate that students were indeed learning and they were growing in these key frames of the framework. So that's what we were looking for. Since we started using Tatil, we actually employ two of the four modules of Tatil. We use strategic searching, and then we also use evaluating process and authority. And what we've been able to achieve since we implemented Tatil, we use this as a pre-test and a post-test for all of our UL 100 sections. As much as anything else, we've been able to look at different domains of learning. We've been able to look at the skills that students gain between the pre-test and the post-test in our class. And we've also been able to look at these knowledge components, basically the comfort levels. Are students getting a little bit more comfortable with their skills? Are there still some areas where they feel like they would want to work on a little bit more? So Tatil for us, I think, has given us a more holistic approach, and I would say a larger way of seeing what our students are achieving that would actually go far beyond just a basic test in which students might answer some questions, but we're really not able to gauge their learning. The other thing we really like about Tatil is that so many of the test items are a little bit more scenario-based, and they do require a few more critical thinking skills of our students. Sometimes that challenges them. We see that when they take the pre-test and the post-test, but that's what we need to know as well. We don't want them just to be able to pick out an answer and then be done with it. We really want them to think about that. And we also like the fact that the answers for so many of the test items are weighted. So one might be a completely correct answer. The other one might be partially correct because it's still getting at the learning outcome of the test item. And we think that's really important in terms of critical thinking for our students as well. So Tatil has really been able to, I would say, give us a little bit more of a rounded knowledge and assessment of information literacy than perhaps other tests would. One, I think, important part that we've been able to do is that simply because Tatil is matched and crosswalked with the ACRL Information Literacy Framework, it's really given us something that we can take to our higher administration. And when I say that, what I can do is I can run test reports of different sections with the pre-test and the post-test for the different modules. And then I can compare overall with the larger test reports how students are doing. And the fact is that since I can go back to higher level administrators, our dean, our associate provost for institutional effectiveness, and even our provost for and vice president for academic affairs. With Tatil, it really helps me to be able to say to them, these are the results that we're getting with our students in UL 100 with information literacy. And not only that, those results have been matched, they have been crosswalked with a standard that is very much accepted in academic libraries. So it isn't just something that we made up on our own, although there's certainly a time and place for that as well. Here at ESU, we have been looking very much on accreditation. We're accredited by the Higher Learning Commission, and we also have regional accrediting bodies. And many of these accrediting associations are not necessarily requiring, but they're really happy if you can go back and provide assessments that, again, have been matched against what happens to be standards in your specific discipline. And I think that's been a huge advantage for us to be able to use Tatil in that respect. Talk about Tatil quite a bit within the context of our library faculty meetings. We actually compare in our faculty meetings with the librarians that teach with UL 100 how we are using the pre-test and the post-test results, in particular the pre-test results. Some of my colleagues will ask our students to print out or save their pre-test test reports and then write a reflection on, was there anything surprising? What would they want to learn in the future? And so forth. And then we'll go ahead and ask them to do the same thing with the post-test reports. They'll print them out and then write a reflection of what they think they've learned over the course of a given semester. So that's with our colleagues within the context of the library. With my colleagues outside the context of the library, I am on a committee called the Student Learning Assessment Council. That particular council is comprised of department chairs and other representatives from departments here at ESU that are responsible for steering assessment of student learning outcomes in their respective disciplines or departments. And I did a presentation probably about a year ago to this committee on the use of Tatil, the Threshold Achievement Test of Information Literacy. I think it opens some eyes, to be honest, with some of my colleagues across campus. I think they were rather surprised that A, we were teaching a course at UL 100, and that B, we were taking standardized assessment of information literacy so seriously in the library. It shouldn't have been a surprise, but I think it was really great to be able to have a standardized assessment like Tatil that I could point to with my other faculty colleagues. And I was able to say, we're bringing value. We take assessment very seriously, and we're looking for standardized assessments just as you are in your different disciplines. So those are some examples of how we communicate with colleagues. We're looking at other ways that we can communicate our results with Tatil, I would say across the campus even more broadly than we've been able to right now. One idea that we are pursuing in terms of communicating our results with Tatil would be to take a very serious look at other courses here at ESU that students can also take to fulfill the general education requirement of information literacy and technology, because UL 100 is not the only one. I would very much be interested in finding ways of talking with my colleagues that teach these other courses and asking them basically the same questions. How are they assessing information literacy skills? Would Tatil actually be a possibility for some of these other courses as well? That's more communicating in the future, but right now, in terms of communicating our results with Tatil, our Associate Dean of Liberal Arts and Sciences is the chair of our General Education Council, and I've had some really interesting conversations with him about what we have been doing in terms of Tatil. I think he's been very encouraged, again, by the fact that the library is taking this very seriously. Quite frankly, I think using a standardized assessment such as Tatil also adds value to the academic library. It shows that the library is extremely involved and contributes heavily to student learning across campus. So I think using anything like Tatil can really help communicate that value, is that if that's something that you might be struggling with in terms of an academic library. So it definitely helps. We have found that it's a very seamless web-based interface for our students to use. The technical aspects have been incredibly easy for our students, regardless of whether we're doing it face-to-face or online. That may seem like a relatively minor detail, but when you are dealing with students who might be nervous about other things in terms of technology to begin with, to be able to give a test like this that's entirely web-based, they just log in, use a student ID, take their test, and then they're done with it. We find that the stress level really goes down and that the students are able to concentrate upon the content of the test items. And I think that's what a standardized assessment is all about. So that's something else we've been really, really pleased with.